All right, welcome to Smokey Reacts, and on this one, I had to, at this point, it's got out of hand. I don't know enough. I keep hearing some wild ass shit. So, I'm trying to find something interesting to give me, we'll say, not interested in the topic, inroads into the topic. Because in my country, they barely taught us that Northern Ireland was a part of the UK and Ireland was a separate nation. I didn't said that shit in the Philly video, and boy was that shit super techy. So I'm like, I had no idea about all this. I know I brushed up against a little bit of it with the drugs video that I did, but it's just kind of like reaffirmed a part of that, and then just like, what the fuck is going on in this part of the world? I'm just tell you, your tourism board does an amazing job of hiding all of this shit. And then also my country, because they're just like, yeah, nah, it's calm over there. Enjoy. And it's like the not that it's terrible, because it's terrible everywhere actually, but it's not as roses and bubbles. It's how they make it look, and it's far deeper than that. And it's just like, God dang it, that's crazy. I didn't know it was this deep. So with that said, we are checking out Northern Ireland's invisible border, because I knew about the border. I knew that was causing issues. I did not know it was this deep. So yeah, let's check this out and let's get into it. Thank you for joining me. If you could please hit that like and subscribe, and let's go.
You have a population that considers itself essentially Irish and a population that considers itself essentially British.
So going home, British soldiers going home.
I was gonna go back, but my headphones had died, so I had to pause it real quick, start this over. However, you guys will get to hear what I said, and I just from the shit I was talking, I was like, oh, I see why this shit has escalated this fast and to where it has gone to. Cause I'm like, a nigga shoot me 4 times, and I survive. I'm liable to blow the entire goddamn block up just to get one nigga, just due to personal retribution needing to be met. It could be for no other reason. Nigga shoot me 4 times. You guys have no idea how, when I got struck by a vehicle this last time, I was like, this bitch had the audacity to hit me. So imagine, I've been struck by a car. That's my thought process. Nigga shoot me 4 times and I live? It's gonna be long for that, man. I'm trying to tell you. Especially if I have no like I can walk. I still got my facilities. Oh, I'm on their ass.
I was shot 4 times. I was shot twice in the chest and once in each arm.
5 soldiers in Patsy were blown to pieces. There was no body. There was just bits.
This sort of constant cycle of rebellion and suppression, rebellion and suppression.
These communities are left, they reckon, ruined. The levels of mental health, youth unemployment, deprivation, the high levels of suicide in the city. It's crazy. It's a national crisis.
We've just replaced one master with another.
All those deaths, and what for? For nothing.
God damn.
So this is the UK side.
Say a word, bud.
I'm about to come up to the border. And I think this really right here
Imagine some niggas came out the bush. Freeze, nigga!
is the line. The color of the lines on the side of the road changes from white to yellow. This is it. You would have to really be paying attention to recognize that any of this is here, that you're going from one country to another. But then this sign, we have a sign right here that
Does this not, at least to me, does this not just show the inherent arbitrary nature of inland borders of connected nations? Yes, I do understand cultures do shift and change through fucking a landscape change. That's not the point. It's just that shit's so arbitrary. Nigga said it's mine up until here, and I lick shot over this shit, nigga. And the other nigga was like, all right, my nigga, it's calm. What? It's so wild.
pretty much tells you everything you need to know. It says, welcome to Northern Ireland, but the word northern in Northern Ireland has been painted out. Little things like that tell you that this is actually an incredibly contested border, that people are not happy that it's here, that people are willing to at a minimum, deface property to express their feelings about it and do a lot more than just deface property.
"30 years ago, this border crossing was bombed by the Irish Republican Army.
What?
The attack was part of the Troubles, a civil conflict fought
Hold on, blood. What? This shit might not
years
even
ago.
be- That what? That's ridiculous, blood.
This border crossing was bombed by the Irish Republican Army. The attack was part of the Troubles, a civil conflict fought essentially over this border. Ireland is divided in two. The Republic of Ireland is sovereign and independent, while Northern Ireland is ruled by the United Kingdom. Irish nationalists and Republicans reject that division. To them, the British in the North are an illegitimate occupying force. So they took up arms to kick the British out and unite Ireland into one country.
They turned this all into window dressing to bolster the. And when I say this, I really fuck with the nigga that writes that show, though. That's my guy. Like, he does when he takes on certain projects, take the care, but it's used as window dressing in my country. All these fucking, this is just sadness. Niggas is going wild as fuck. Now, granted, I do kind of understand that, like, yo, there was a whole, it's deeper than that, but it's just like the way that they don't tell us it's deeper than that. They're just like, oh, these people, they've been fighting for a long time and they look like us, so we care about their fight. And I'm just like, what? I don't know if that's how that work. Cause them brothers in Africa to be kidnapping them girls from the school. I'm just like, my brother may look like me, but that's for sure ain't right. Just because they look like you don't mean that you're supposed to just say yeah. So to not teach us the proper parts of this is just crazy. I know more about gangs in New York than I do about this. And I mean like the fucking 5 Points gang from back in the day. Not that fucking new shit.
In short, to get rid of the border. That's why in October 1990, the IRA bombed the Coshquin border checkpoint. Even in a conflict known for its atrocities, the attack stood out for its cruelty.
Hi there, how you doing?
I'm fine, how
You're
are
David?
you? I am.
You're more than welcome. Would you like to come in?
Yes, please, thank you. So this is you and Patsy?
That's me and Patsy, aye.
Kathleen Gillespie and her husband, Patsy, didn't think of themselves as political people. But Patsy had a job in a British Army barracks, and in the eyes of the IRA, that made him a collaborator.
He was a helper for the chef in the kitchens in Fort George.
Jeez.
It didn't matter what you did in the camp. If you're a civilian worker, they said that you'd be targeted.
One night, Kathleen and Patsy came home to find a group of masked gunmen holding their children hostage.
Yo, shout out to this nigga Patsy. That nigga was still moving like, nigga, I ain't no bitch. I gotta take care of my family, boy. You better leave me the fuck alone. I know that's the type of energy he had to be on if he ends up getting killed behind any of this shit. He's like, nigga, you niggas tell me I can't work here, but you ain't giving me no money. You ain't giving me no other options. Look, I'm going to work. Y'all better leave me alone. You better find somebody really to target.
I was pushed into the living room where Jennifer, my daughter, she was 12 at the time, she was sitting in an armchair crying. There was a gunman standing over her. I think they left 3 in the house with us and 2 went away with Patsy in the car. They drove over the border at Coshquin. See, what happened was Patsy was chained to a van. Then he just drove into the checkpoint where he was told to drive. It was detonated by remote control, and 5 soldiers and Patsy were blown to pieces. There was no body. There was just bits.
You remote control car? Oh, R.I.P. my nigga Patsy, man. Oh, Jesus Christ. The irony in my man's name, too. Stick. Oh, Jesus. This is crazy. Hey, shout out to Patsy, though.
How can somebody sit down around a table and plan something like that? How do you think about the mentality of
quite
people
easy.
like that who can just sit down and cold-bloodedly?
The fact that we act like it's an abnormal thing is why it is allowed to be so pervasive or used in such a shocking manner. We have seen enough human atrocity to know that, oh, yeah, that nigga might do that. I think we should start just being like, nah, that nigga might do that. He might. He might.
Plan stuff like that.
To answer that question, you have to know the story of how the Irish border came to exist in the first place. It's a very old story. England has been trying to colonize Ireland for more than 800 years.
Jeez.
In the early 1600s, they sent waves of Protestant settlers to the northeast corner of the largely Catholic island. They turned the city of Derry into a colonial outpost and renamed it Londonderry.
So these walls were built by the Protestant British settlers to protect themselves from the population that were colonizing, the Irish population. The intention was actually to replace the Irish Gaelic population and turn this into a Protestant British territory. It did establish a majority Protestant population in this part of Ireland, but it also triggered a sort of constant cycle of rebellion and suppression, rebellion and suppression.
Ireland won independence from the UK in the 1920s. But rather than let go of the mostly Protestant...
God damn it, bro. That's key information, bro. You don't just move on to the next part. How the fuck did them niggas win? I can't be the only motherfucker that don't know shit about this. Well, goddamn it, how did they fucking win? What was that at least the battle called? They'd be like covering fucking the Civil War and be like, yeah, so the South just surrendered. Like, not even the South surrendered. Like, yeah, so the war ended and yeah, we just moved on to Reconstruction. It's like, what the fuck happened? What? You gotta talk about Gettysburg. Like, it's just, how did they win? I don't even know how these niggas win. Shout out to you for winning, but damn it, I want to know the highlights. Shit.
1920s. But rather than let go of the mostly Protestant North, the British simply drew a line around it and kept it for themselves. That's where the border came from. And it left two groups of people inside Northern Ireland that, to put it mildly, don't...
Wait,
It left two groups of people inside Northern Ireland that...
Who's the RUC? I can't see that last one.
To put it...
Yeah. What's the one that's next to the RUC? What's that say? British what? Because there's that word is just happenstance to be covered just oh so perfectly. But you fucking locked the camera off for the shot. This is why I'm like, nah, man. Like these are intentional choices.
Mildly. And it left two groups of people inside Northern Ireland that...
Oh man, I don't get a better shot. This is terrible. I want to know what that says. And then somebody explain this art to me. I don't understand it. I don't have any context. And this guy's being terrible. He just wants to push the narrative. I want information. I don't give a fuck who's right.
To put it mildly, don't see eye to eye.
Even though to an outsider like me, these populations don't look different, they don't seem particularly different, they consider...
They all look like white people, bro. You could say it. It's perfectly fine. They're all white people, but this is where you've learned, or you should have learned, that now race does not matter. Culture and class are far more important.
Themselves massively different. You have a population that considers itself essentially Irish and a population that considers itself essentially British.
Oh, look at that. Cultures.
You can see that divide everywhere you go in Northern Ireland. And you can hear it, too.
That's so pretty. God damn. Yeah, I might have to... Shit, if I was from over there, I'd probably be warm for that shit, too. You tell me this is my backyard, nigga? That shit's probably long living over there. I don't know. But that's pretty as fuck. Am I allowed to ride a dirt bike or stuff on there, or that's going to be considered like tearing up the countryside, and that's not okay? I don't know the rules. I'm American. We're for sure driving over that in America. Fuck, you better have some federally protected lands before we not riding on it. And then guess what? Niggas is still riding on it. Do I think that's okay? No, I do not. I'm just telling you how we getting down. So, am I allowed to do that on there? Because if so, oh my God, you get a dirt bike and some gasoline. You gonna have a great time. Or a quad? Oh, Jesus Christ. It's gonna be a good time. And one of them little raptor things? Oh, man. It's just the possibilities are endless. This is a goddamn car commercial.
We're pulling into a tiny little village called Greencastle in the middle of rural Northern Ireland. And we're here because tonight at the local pub, there's going to be a performance of traditional Irish rebel songs, which is the body of old folk songs about the Irish nationalist struggle against the British.
Shout out Greencastle. Greencastle, stand up.
We want our country back. We want to see old Ireland free once more. So go on home, British soldiers, go on home. Have you got no free homes of your own? For 800 years, keep on you fears. We'll fight you for 800 more.
Everyone inside knows the lyrics.
Has it been another 800 years? Has it been 1600 in total that they've been fighting?
Every single one of these songs, even if they're not actively singing along. And he's been playing for like.
Why are they letting him talk like this? You're supposed to be a goddamn journalist, bro. To make the assumption or accusation that every person in there knows the words of these motherfucking songs, even without fucking singing it, is a wild claim. And how, when people are in panics, they're like, oh, well, you know that nigga, so sweep that nigga up too. Like, you could. Such free language from a nigga that is supposed to be disseminating information. It's just. This nigga, like, yo, the AP just. If it was the person in the grave, it's just gotta be rolling. The standards are just low.
They're not actively.
Listen to this shit. I'm sorry. This is just. Granted, I didn't complete a journalism degree. I surely did fucking at least do 1 year of this shit. And in the first 6 months that I've been in that shit, they covered having a little bit of ethics. Just a little bit. Just a wee bit. A wee bit. I need a little bit more impartiality on the story, my boy. And I need you to stop fucking making accusations.
Everyone inside knows the lyrics to every single one of these songs, even if they're not actively singing along. And
Jesus Christ. Imagine if my nigga was a Gestapo guy saying that shit. It's a long night. Oh my God. I cannot be the only person that sees this. It's just like an issue. This is crazy.
everyone inside knows the lyrics to every single one of these songs, even if they're not actively singing along. And he's been playing for like an hour and 15 minutes, and he's still not out of songs.
It was fighting for 800 years. You think them niggas gonna be out of songs in an hour and a half? The disrespect. How'd this nigga get this story? Yeah, he's curly-haired white boy. Yeah, I get it. But come on, man, this is trash. I'm not even getting no good information. Getting some fluff piece. Somebody's got to give me something better, because you guys are gonna. I'm not even gonna do the second part of this shit, because you guys are gonna look at this and then be like, oh no, this doesn't really cover it. So please put me on to the real thing, because it's not gonna cut it. This don't cut the mustard.
Rebel Sunday is a day when you see Jerry Oak and Damien Quinn sing the songs of the Ireland. Damien Quinn, it's the way. Damien Quinn.
So who's Damien Quinn? See, like, this is like where good editing comes in. This is where you cut away and you do let's teach you about who the fuck Damien Quinn is real quick, so you can have some context for this fucking thing. Then you get a little context, and then you could do the meanwhile back on the ranch, you go back to this guy fucking singing. Like, they got a lot of money advice, and they not using none of it. That boy shoes shining.
The people on the other side of the divide call themselves Unionists or Loyalists.
Okay.
Because they're loyal to the British Crown.
All right, shout out to
They
y'all too.
have their own musical traditions.
Wait. They use, well, I guess that is some super British shit. I'm gonna use your shit like it's my shit. Or who came up with the bagpipe first? Because I feel like that's Irish. And if so, that's just, oh man, that's just crazy.
We're in Castle Derg, which is a small village that's right on the border. It's like less than a mile from the border. This is a loyalist youth marching band.
When you say youth, okay, you got kids in the front spinning and twirling shit. Okay.
For young people like Mason Caldwell, these bands are social clubs. But they also enforce a strong connection to the past.
What does it mean to you to be unionist?
It's just really the tradition that I've grown up around, you know, with my dad, and then there was a stage I actually fell out with him over something because I was about to go with a Catholic, but I didn't, and then he fell out with me over that.
He fell out with you about going out with a Catholic girl?
I didn't go out with her though. I was close to, then I didn't.
Yeah.
Yo, the fact my niggas making sure we have this on tape, the distinction, bruv. I ain't date that Catholic girl. I'm trying to tell you. Like, that shit was just deep, blood.
But I didn't, and then he fell out with me over that.
He fell out with you about going out with a Catholic girl?
I didn't go out with her though. I was close to, then I didn't.
Yeah.
But I didn't really understand it, and then I started telling my stories about the things he grew up around. Kind of understood then, like, right, I kind of have to like stick by this now, type of thing.
So would you go out with a Catholic girl now?
Not really. I suppose I can't really, because...
Oh my God. This is crazy. This is crazy. I know it's a blood feud, so like it's deeper than just somebody just got to put it down. But like that's actually how that shit starts. You know, the Hatfields and them McCoys are still not licking shots no more. Now, granted, they didn't have as many people to fight the back and forth, but still, just like somebody's got to be like, all right, my nigga, like I'm gonna chill out. It's crazy. This nigga said I can't fuck with the bird because she Catholic. My American mind says, nigga, she gonna say I'm Methodist. She'll be a Methodist by Thursday. I'm trying to tell you. Well, I'm not gonna say she has to, but whatever the fuck I am, whatever we will become. If she can't be Catholic and I can't be whatever I am, then fuck it. We gonna be nothing, but we'll be together. I can tell you that.
I've got a girlfriend now, so...
No, but I mean, let's say you didn't have your current girlfriend. Would you just, in principle, would you go out with a Catholic?
Probably not, no.
All right.
Especially because of the band, because I put so much into the band, you know. They kind of silly just to go out with one and then get kicked out for it.
They would kick you out of the band for dating a Catholic girl?
Aye, they would.
What is it that you understood? What is it that he told you that made you think about this differently?
Just kind of
beat the
explained to
shit
me
out your ass, boy.
all that happened throughout his lifetime and how if something did start again, and there's me, Protestant, going with a Catholic, and something started, well, I could probably be targeted easily, you know.
So he was worried about you?
He was worried about me, yeah. It's just in case something did happen again. Because you never know the ways anything could start up easily, you know.
That's not a good question to ask him.
Just as
That's a
there were
cover
Republican armed groups like the IRA, there were loyalist paramilitaries as well, fighting to keep Northern Ireland in the UK. Tit-for-tat killings between them created the misconception.
This is really the art that's on the walls? Blood. Like kids walk past this on the daily? This is normal? What the fuck? That's wild, blood. It's good art. Good art. But that's just some strong image. God damn. Them niggas strapped
Armed
up.
groups like the IRA, there were loyalist paramilitaries as well, fighting to keep Northern Ireland in the UK.
Yeah, like this one too. Like, Jesus. Pilgrim, Master, we shall go always. It's a little... I don't know what the rest of it is. What the f? That's crazy. And these niggas got the ballies on? I'm just like, yo, that's just cool to be on the side of the building. I was like, I don't know no place in America where there's this type of yeah, fucking imagery and art that is like supported by like the actual community.
Tit-for-tat killings between them created the misconception that this was essentially a sectarian conflict between Catholics and Protestants. But that account leaves out a major player, the British state.
It's helpful to think about it more as basically an insurgency, a nationalist insurgency against the British state. And as part of its counterinsurgency strategy, that state, in many cases, against the... It's helpful to think about it more...
Fuck, what's helpful? It's shit like this, where they try and lead the conversation instead of just tell me what happened. I don't need no helpful ways to think about it. Tell me the shit that I need to know so I can think about it. That's it.
More as basically an insurgency, a nationalist insurgency against the British state. And as part of its counterinsurgency strategy, that state, in many cases, allied and collaborated extensively with local paramilitary organizations.
Oh, wow. That's one hell of a way to say that the UK government gave carte blanche to loyalists in the Northern Ireland region to pretty much just take up arms. Like, nigga, we support, like, you lick shot on that nigga, we'll let it slide. And we already applying pressure on them niggas anyways. Your enemy's my enemy. Let's just team up. Well, I guess I just like the nakedness of facts. That's better for me because then I can decide. Because I'm just like, all right, let's say that it is the way I put it. What is the country supposed to do? If you're really talking about running a country, fucking it's the perfect game plan. It's exactly what you have to do. But then that's where you got to look at the people on the other side. Oh, nigga, wild. You got people in country that is against you, and you actually got a government against you. And y'all niggas say, I'm not backing down. That's crazy. Jeez, I see why it's deep. I see why it's like, oh no, I'm like, oh, hugs, put the guns down. Like, just make the border open. It's not that easy.
Loyalist paramilitary organizations like the Ulster Defence Association and the Ulster Volunteer Force, the UDA and the UVF. Obviously, that counterinsurgency didn't work. All it did was add fuel to the fire, as counterinsurgencies often do. This place is a perfect example of that. And there are places like this all over the city. It's a bookmaker's shop, so a place where people go place bets in the middle of a predominantly Catholic neighborhood. In 1992, a loyalist militia, the UDA, 2 gunmen came to this place, just walked in and shot it up.
Can we get everybody back?
Years later, it was discovered that one of the firearms that they used to perpetrate the attack was actually provided to them by the police, by the Royal Ulster Constabulary. It shows you that the British government wasn't like a neutral force. The British government was extensively collaborating with one side of the conflict, which were the Loyalists, because the Loyalists were essentially fighting on their behalf.
Mark Sykes
free
survived the
manpower.
shooting. Niall Murphy is his lawyer. Together, they're trying to hold the British state accountable for the attack in court.
I was shot 4 times, at least 4 times. I was shot twice in the chest and once in each arm. And I still have a bullet lodged in my chest. From when I was 1 week old, I've lived in this area. I've actually lived in this street. So I know what this community went through. But you had to live your life. You had to go and do normal things. And normal things for normal people was going into bookmakers on a Wednesday and having a bet on a horse race. They weren't involved in politics. They weren't involved in political parties. They weren't involved in the conflict. There were people in there having a bet on a Wednesday.
The way that this conflict gets talked about often gives the impression that this was a conflict between 2 sort of warring ethnic tribes that hated each other, and that's why they were killing each other. And you don't tend to hear a lot about the role that the British state played in this conflict.
The greatest trick that they ever pulled on the international stage was to relegate it to a squabble between 2 sectarian tribes. That was a lie.
When we get the truth about how our loved ones were murdered, it shows that the state knew that its own citizens were going to be murdered with weapons that they supplied. Then it no longer becomes a civil conflict between two warring tribes.
We see this agreement, this treaty, as addressing the wounds that have damaged our society.
The Troubles ended in 1998 with the Good Friday Agreement. Both sides put down their weapons, the British withdrew their troops, and the border was left open. There's been violence since then, but it's a shadow of what it used to be. Most people in Northern Ireland have moved on from the war, even the ones you'd least expect. Gary Donnelly is a dissident Republican, meaning a Republican who to this day disagrees with the IRA's decision to put down its weapons.
You get it, Bubs? Here, I'll see if I get it.
Yeah.
But he's opted for a different set of tactics. He's now a local elected official, and he helps run a community center for vulnerable people, including former prisoners and veterans of the Troubles.
Breathe in. Breathe out. Once you breathe, that air starts to disappear.
Could you make that disappear?
So, once you relax now, it's really important to relax your neck under my hand. Don't fight it. Yeah. Are you upward?
I'm a little scared of the neck thing.
It's all right.
There you go.
We have an ex-lifer who's got his hands on a journalist.
Just relax this.
Who taught you this stuff?
My yoga teacher, 3 yoga teachers came into Long Cash, and one would taught you the movements, the other taught you the breath, and then the anatomy.
Long Cash is a prison.
Long Cash is a prison, right on 14 years.
Who does he send the invoice to?
Yeah, good question. We've got street cred in the city because of our past, our history, and who we are. I have a life license. I can be sent back to jail at any given time. This here breakfast thing is something that copped up because everybody coming here in the morning, there's nothing to do after the week stops. Everybody's left with their own mental health, their own problems. And what do? Most guys would take that drink. Very few people I know from jail who don't drink and don't smoke.
You guys have people from unionist communities coming and using the services that you provide here?
Yes, repeatedly. See, at the end of the day, it's all working class people. So why wouldn't you help? You know, it doesn't matter to us. That's, you know.
Talks about.
That's the beginning, but Jesus, that shit just maybe started to tip the scale with the guy saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter to us." He was probably like a teenager when that shit was going super crazy, and then his kids probably also went through a little bit of madness, and then those kids are like, like they're the nigga on the drums right now. That's who his grandson is the nigga on the drums. Damn. And they're indoctrinating that nigga still too, so as long as at least like another 100 years before somebody actually says we all forgot. That's crazy.
You know, Republicans and Loyalists, Nationalists and Unionists, Catholics and Protestants, people don't talk about it in class terms.
If you're raising those issues and saying it's a class issue, then somebody has to be responsible for the failures, and that's the state. So the state doesn't want to portray themselves to be failing. They want to portray us as people who are feral, that can't get on. We're a gang against a gang.
And we've had 100 years of that, and it's been maintained, and the Brits have maintained it by coercion, by violence, by, you know, divide and conquer, setting people orange and green. They've done it everywhere they've went. They've done it in India. The Americans and the Brits did it in Iraq. Divisions, that's the nature of imperialism.
Fueling sectarian conflict.
Yeah, sectarianism suits the British. You know, make one section of the community feel that they've more rights than another, give them all the perks, give them all the jobs, the employment. The reality is that's all breaking down here in a sense. All the big factories that were nearly almost exclusively populated by the unionist community have all gone.
And effectively the people who are here can't afford it. These communities are left, they reckon, ruined. The levels of mental health, the levels of youth unemployment, deprivation, you know, the high levels of suicide in the cities is crazy. It's a national crisis, but you don't hear about it.
History of partition is showing that it's a failure. Nobody can hold up and say it's a success. But my opinion of the border wasn't there. A lot of these problems would be alleviated.
And the current situation that we have now isn't working. It never ever addressed the core issue. The peace dividend that was promised in order to sell that, you have to understand people were coming through a struggle, troubles, a war, whatever label you want to put on it, and people were war weary and thought, right, well, this is a new start. But here we are now, almost a quarter of a century later, and for people on the ground, very little has changed. We've just replaced one master with another.
One thing you hear all the time in Northern Ireland is that everything is political. Absolutely everything is politicized. It's impossible to do something ordinary without it becoming political somehow. Even the name of the city, right? If you're a nationalist, you call it Derry. If you're a unionist, you call it Londonderry. But people have been trying to move on from that since the peace process. And we're about to go meet someone who is a street artist, and his whole thing, which here in this context is surprisingly controversial, is to just make art in public places that is not explicitly aligned with either the nationalist or the unionist cause.
So we're on the corner of William Street, so we're just going to head into the Bogside, which is famous for our murals, the People's Gallery it's called.
In Derry, where Donal grew up, militant street art has been a part of the urban fabric for decades. It's a tradition he's trying to move beyond, but not leave behind.
I think it's really important that these murals are here. I mean, this is part of me, this is part of my culture and my story growing up as well. But it's also just as important that the stuff I do is a part of our culture and city as well, because we have such a vibrant city with amazing people in it.
Do you think things here would be better if the border simply ceased to exist?
Me, personally, yes. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy thing. I mean, I think if it is going to happen, it has to be a new Ireland as well. And tolerance is the key to everything. People have to be very tolerant of each other. And I think that's what hasn't happened in the past since partition. People were not tolerant for other cultures or identities and stuff. But we have to be. In the world we live in now, we definitely have to be. And with Brexit looming, that's like scary, Brexit. And the whole idea of building borders back up is actually insane.
When the UK voted to leave the European Union, it left Ireland split between an EU country and a non-EU country. That means that after 22 years of peace, Britain and Ireland will once again be separated by some kind of border.
It was probably the first time in my life where I was absolutely speechless when I woke up. I watched the news and just seen the Brexit was happening. Northern Ireland was never mentioned in the whole Brexit lead-up. It was never mentioned. It was like, it was like an afterthought. It was like we were an afterthought. And that's what people feel here. We're like, hold on, man. People have been working really, really, really hard for 20 years to uphold peace and try their best. But when somebody else is making decisions for you, that's when...
And jeopardizing all of that, putting all of that in jeopardy.
Without any consultation. And that's the thing that's really difficult. And that's the thing I think is going to backfire. And that's the scary thing, really.
Do you think things are better now that the border is open than they were back when this happened?
It's okay. There are no checkpoints to stop you, but I can't help wondering what's going on underneath it all. You know, I don't think it's gone. I still think there's a lot of underlying stuff there. And I'm afraid it'll rear its ugly head again. Terrified that it's going to happen all over again. I think everybody's terrified. Everybody's afraid that it's not finished with.
Yeah, man, I need some more comprehensive struggles. I'm hearing mad folks' names I don't know. Granted, all this has happened in the past and well before my time. But I still would like to actually know. And I know somebody's got something better than this. with a more impartial presentation as well. But yeah, that'll be it for me on this one. Thank you very much for joining me. It is greatly appreciated. If you could please hit that like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. I can't wait to see the comment section on this.